Hello students, welcome to my channel Learning History Made Easy. In today's video, I will be explaining about the last two 10-mark questions from the model paper for reduced syllabus. So this will be the last part of your first model paper. After this, I will be uploading the second model paper. So before going into the video, if anyone is seeing the channel for the first time, or if you have not subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe and share with your friends. So without wasting time, let us get into the video. So today's video, as I have said, is about the last two 10-mark questions. So let us see the first question. The first question is about Sir M. Vishveshwaraya. Sir M. Vishveshwaraya. The question is, Sir M. Vishveshwaraya is called the maker of modern Mysore. Explain. So the question is, Sir M. Vishveshwaraya is called as the maker of modern Mysore. Maker of modern Mysore. Explain. The point has to be explained. So let us see point by point what has to be added in this answer. So as I have already told you, for an essay you should have an introduction, then there should be the body of the essay, and then there should be a conclusion. So let us see what are we going to write in the introduction. Sir M. Vishveshwaraya was born on 15th September 1861 at a place called as Muddanahalli in Chikbellapura district. So he was born on 15th September 1861 at Muddanahalli in Chikbellapura district. Bellapura district. So this is the first point about Sir M. Vishveshwaraya. His parents were Srinivasa Shastri. Srinivasa Shastri was his father, and his mother was Venkata Lakshmamma. Venkata Lakshmamma was his mother. So Srinivasa Shastri and Venkata Lakshmamma were the parents of Sir M. Vishveshwaraya. He completed his primary education at Chikbellapura, and later for further studies he went to Bangalore. So he came to Bangalore for his further studies. After his primary education in Chikbellapura, he came to Bangalore for further studies, and his BA degree was taken from Central College. So he took his BA degree from Central College. Later he moved to Pune for his engineering studies. He did his engineering studies in Pune, and after his engineering service he served, or he worked under the Bombay government. He worked for the Bombay government from 1884 to 1909. So this time period from 1884 to 1909, he worked for the Bombay government. So the question is, Sir M. Vishveshwaraya is called as maker of modern Mysore. Explain. So we have to start with an introduction. He was born on 15 September 1861 at Muddanahalli in Chikbellapura district. Parents were Srinivasa Shastri and Venkata Lakshmamma. He completed his primary education in Chikbellapura, and he went to Bangalore for his further studies and got his BA in Central College. Later he moved to Pune for his engineering studies. He served the Bombay government from 1884 to 1909. So after that he was appointed as the chief engineer of Mysore in 1909. So he was appointed as the chief engineer of Mysore, chief engineer of Mysore in the year 1909. Till 1909 he was working for the Bombay government. Later he was appointed as chief engineer of Mysore, and after that in 1912 he was appointed as the Diwan of Mysore. So he was appointed as the Diwan by Nalwadi Krishnaraja Wadayar. Nalwadi Krishnaraja Wadayar appointed him as the Diwan of Mysore. So that is how he became the Diwan of Mysore in 1912. So this was a basic introduction about Sir M. Vishveshwaraya. So now let us see the main reforms. That is, because of his reforms only he was called as the maker of modern Mysore. So regarding his reforms, the first reform is administrative reform. Administrative reform. So considering his administrative reform, the number of members of legislative council, the number of members of legislative council was increased during that time from 18 to 24, and this was done by Sir M. Visvesvaraya. The number of members of legislative council, was increased from 18 to 24. Then local boards and village panchayat registration increased the number of elected members. So a number of elected members also were increased. Number of elected members were also increased. So the number of members of legislative council also were increased, and the number of elected members also were increased by local board and village panchayat registration. They were increased. Then village reform committee was established. So the next administrative reform was the village reform committee was established. Village reform committee was established, and this was for the progress of villages. Sir M. Visvesvaraya was very particular about the development of villages, and for that purpose village reform committees were established. And there was also separate plans for the development of Malanad region. Separate plan for the development of Malanad region. So Sir M. Visvesvaraya had separate plans for the development of Malanad region. So the number of members of legislative council were increased from 18 to 24. Local board and village panchayat registration increased the number of elected members to the district and taluk board, and village reform committee was established for the progress of villages, and there was a separate plan for the development of Malanad region. So all these were the administrative reforms of Sir M. Visvesvaraya. The next is about the industrial development. What all development was done during the time of Sir M. Visvesvaraya for industrial development. So one of the main slogan of Sir M. Visvesvaraya was industrialize or perish. That is, either you industrialize or you perish. That was the famous slogan of Sir M. Visvesvaraya regarding industrialization. So during his time, a number of industries started during the time of Sir M. Visvesvaraya. That is, some examples if we see, iron works at Bhadravati, then sandal oil factory at Mysore, sandal oil factory was established at Mysore. Then soap factory, metal factory, so many soap factory was established, metal factory was established. So many industries developed during the time of Sir M. Visvesvaraya. Mysore Chamber of Commerce and Industry was established. Another important development was Mysore Chamber of Commerce and Industry. This Mysore Chamber of Commerce and Industry, this was established at Bangalore, and this was to support trade and commerce. All the support for trade and commerce was given by the Mysore Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which was established at Bangalore. So his famous slogan was industrialize or perish, and during his time a number of industries like the iron works at Bhadravati, sandal oil factory at Mysore, soap factory, etc. developed, and the Mysore Chamber of Commerce and Industry was established at Bangalore to support trade and commerce. And other than these industries, cottage industries also developed during the time of Sir M. Visvesvaraya. Cottage industries like, if you say, weaving, pottery, agarbatti making, woodwork, all these were the cottage industries which developed during the time of Sir M. Vishweshwaraya. And one of the most important contribution was the establishment of Mysore Bank in 1913, and this was established for the promotion of industries and commerce. So cottage industries developed like weaving, pottery, woodworks, etc. And the Mysore Bank was founded in 1913 for the promotion of industries and commerce. So all these were the industrial development during the time of Sir M. Vishweshwaraya. Next, let us see about his educational reforms. Educational reforms of Sir M. Vishweshwaraya. He believed that progress of a country mainly depend on the education of the people. According to Sir M. Vishweshwaraya, progress of a country depends on the education of people. If the people are educated, the country will naturally progress. That was the concept of Sir M. Vishweshwaraya. He was the person who introduced compulsory primary education. Sir M. Vishweshwaraya introduced compulsory primary education. Scholarships were introduced to encourage education among socially and economically backward classes. So introduced scholarships to encourage education among socially backward and socially and economically backward classes. Economically backward classes, to encourage education, he introduced scholarships. That was another contribution of Sir M. Vishweshwaraya. Again, he encouraged female education and also technical education. Both these were encouraged by Sir M. Vishweshwaraya. Female education as well as technical education, both were encouraged. The engineering college at Bangalore was founded by Sir M. Vishweshwaraya. The engineering college at Bangalore. Engineering college at Bangalore. And one more institution started by him was the Chamarajendra Technical Institute. Chamarajendra Technical Institute located at Mysore. Both were started by Sir M. Vishweshwaraya. So considering education, he believed that progress of a country depended on the education of the people. He started compulsory primary education. Scholarships were introduced to encourage education among the socially and economically backward classes. Female education and technical education both were given importance. He started engineering college at Bangalore and Chamarajendra Technical Institute at Mysore. All these were started by Sir M. Vishweshwaraya. He also established an agricultural school. An agricultural school was established at Hebbal in Bangalore. He established an agricultural school at Hebbal in Bangalore. That was also an achievement of Sir M. Vishweshwaraya. The most important achievement can be said as the establishment of Mysore University, and this happened in the year 1916. He also established Kannada Sahitya Parishad. Kannada Sahitya Parishad was also established by him in 1915. So agricultural school was started at Hebbal in Bangalore, and Mysore University started in 1916, and Kannada Sahitya Parishad was established in 1915. So all these were the contribution of Sir M. Vishweshwaraya in the field of education. Now some of his other achievements. So what were his other achievements? The most important was the construction of the Krishnaraja Sagara Dam. Krishnaraja Sagara Dam, the KRS dam construction was his greatest achievement. KRS dam construction was the greatest achievement of Sir M. Vishweshwaraya. In 1913, two important railway lines were made, that is Mysore Arasikare railway line, and one more railway line was Bauringpete Kolar. These two railway lines were laid in 1913. Now, other than this, we have to see some relief works of Sir M. Vishveshwaraya. The First World War broke out during the Diwanship of Sir M. Vishveshwaraya. The First World War, it happened during the Diwanship of Sir M. Vishveshwaraya, and as a result of First World War, there was severe food shortage. Severe food shortage happened because of First World War, and for this he, as a part of relief work, he started fair price shops. Fair price shops. So fair price shops were started as a part of relief work by Sir M. Vishveshwaraya, and these fair price shops were started, and he also stopped exporting food. Stopped food exports. Food exports were stopped, and selling price of food was fixed. Selling price was fixed. All these things were done so that the problem of food shortage should be solved. So he took relief work by opening fair price shop, by stopping food export, and also fixing the selling price. He finally resigned his diwanship. He resigned in 1918. So during his diwanship, the First World War started, and there was severe food shortage during that time. In order to solve it, he took up relief work by opening fair price shop. He stopped food export, and also he fixed the selling price. He resigned his diwanship, his post, in 1918. He was conferred the title Sir. He was given the title Sir by the British government. The British government conferred him the title Sir for his efficiency and dedicated service. He continued to take active part in the developmental activities of the state even after resignation. He was very active. He took active part in the development of state even after his resignation. The government of India conferred him the Bharat Ratna Award in 1955. So he was given the Bharat Ratna Award in the year 1955 by government of India. He was the first Kannadiga to receive this award. He was the first Kannadiga to receive the Bharat Ratna Award, and he passed away, and he died in 1962. So he was conferred the title Sir by the British government for his efficiency and dedicated service. He continued to take active part in the development of the state. He was conferred Bharat Ratna Award in the year 1955. He was the first Kannadiga to get this award. He died in 1962. The important books of Sir M. Vishveshwaraya. Some of the important books of Sir M. Vishveshwaraya. First is A Vision of Prosperous Mysore. A Vision of Prosperous Mysore. The next important book is Reconstructing India. Reconstructing India. And another book is Memoirs of My Working Life. Memoirs of My Working Life, which is an autobiography. So all these are the important works of Sir M. Vishveshwaraya. A Vision of Prosperous Mysore, Reconstructing India, Memoirs of My Working Life, etc. There are so many other books written by him. These are some examples. So because of all these activities, all these achievements, Sir M. Vishveshwaraya is called as the maker of modern Mysore. So now let us just see these points, whatever we have studied about Sir M. Vishveshwaraya. Let us quickly go through the points. The question will be, Sir M. Vishveshwaraya is called the maker of modern Mysore. Explain. Introduction. He was born on 15 September 1861 at Muddanahalli in Chikballapura district. His parents were Srinivasa Shastri and Venkata Lakshmamma. He completed his primary education at Chikballapura. He went to Bangalore for further studies and got his BA degree from Central College. He moved to Pune for engineering studies. He served Bombay government from 1884 to 1909. He was appointed as the chief engineer of Mysore in 1909. Later, in 1912, he was appointed as the Diwan of Mysore by Nalvadi Krishnaraj Vodayar. During his Diwanship, Mysore witnessed all-round development. Administrative reforms. The number of members of Legislative Council was increased from 18 to 24. Local board and village panchayat regulation increased the number of elected members to the districts and taluk boards. Village Reform Committee were established for the progress of villages. There was separate plan for the development of Malnad region. Industrial development. Industrialize or perish was the famous slogan of Sir M. Vishweshwaraya. During his time, a number of industries like the iron works in Bhadravati, sandal oil factory at Mysore, soap factory, metal factory at Bangalore, etc. developed. Mysore Chamber of Commerce and Industry was established at Bangalore to support trade and commerce. Cottage industries such as weaving, pottery, woodwork, agarbatti industry also flourished. The Mysore Bank was founded in 1913 for the promotion of industries and commerce. Educational reform. He believed that the progress of a country mainly depends on the education of its people. He introduced compulsory primary education. Scholarships were introduced to encourage education among the socially and economically backward classes. Female education and technical education was given importance. The Engineering College at Bengaluru and the Chamarajendra Technical Institute at Mysore was started. He also established an agricultural school at Hebbal in Bengaluru. The establishment of the Mysore University in 1916 was his greatest achievement. The Kannada Sahitya Parishad was established in 1915. Other achievements. Construction of the Krishnarajasagara Dam was his greatest achievement. In 1913, the Mysore Arsikare and Bauringpete Kolar railway lines were laid. Relief works. The First World War broke out during the Diwanship of Sir M. Vishweshwaraya. There was severe shortage of food, and he took up relief work by opening fair price shops, stopping export of food grains, and also by fixing the selling prices. He resigned in 1918 and he was conferred the title Sir by the British government for his efficiency and dedicated service. He continued to take active part in the developmental activities of the state even after his resignation. The Government of India conferred the Bharat Ratna Award in 1955. He was the first Kannadiga to get this award. He died in 1962, and his books are A Vision of Prosperous Mysore, Reconstructing India, Memoirs of My Working Life, etc. So because of all these, Sir M. Vishweshwaraya is called as the maker of modern Mysore. So now let us move on to the next essay question. That is a final question for this model paper. The question is regarding the cultural contributions of Vijayanagara Empire. Cultural contribution of Vijayanagara Empire. Vijayanagara Empire. So that is the next essay question. So regarding the cultural contribution, let us start with the contribution in the field of religion. The Vijayanagara Empire contributed in different fields such as religion, art and architecture, literature, etc. So first let us see about the contribution in the field of religion. The Vijayanagara Empire protected Hindu religion and culture from the invaders. So the main thing was they protected Hindu religion from the invaders. So Hindu religion was protected by the Vijayanagara Empire. There was religious tolerance among the Hindus, Jains and Muslims. So even though Hindu religion was protected, there was religious tolerance which existed during the time between Hindus, Jains and Muslims. Jains and Muslims, religious tolerance existed. It was the duty of the king to safeguard each and every religion of the empire. So the king's duty was to safeguard every religion, safeguard every religion of the empire. It was the duty of the king. And the king had also built a Jain Basadi, and it shows that there was a complete religious harmony in Vijayanagara Empire. So the empire was a place of religious harmony. And also during the Vijayanagara time, the Vachana movement became popular. An important movement was the Vachana movement. So the Vijayanagara Empire had contributed to different fields like religion, culture, art, architecture, literature. All these fields contributions have been done during the time of Vijayanagara Empire. So that you can add as starting point. And first we will see the contribution in religion. The Vijayanagara Empire protected Hindu religion and culture from invaders, and there was religious tolerance among Hindu, Jains and Muslims. It was a duty of the king to safeguard every religion of the empire. There was religious harmony in Vijayanagara Empire, and the Vachana movement was a popular movement during the time of Vijayanagara rulers. Shunya Sampadane was a collection of vachanas. So we said that Vachana movement was important, and Shunya Sampadane, it was a collection of vachanas. It was a collection of vachanas during this time, produced in this age. Now, one of the important person who wrote vachanas was Tontada Siddhalinga. Tontada Siddhalinga was an important personality, and he wrote a number of vachanas. Now there were also many mathas established in many part of the empire. Many mathas, religious mathas were established in many parts of the empire. So Shunya Sampadane, it was collection of vachanas. Tontada Siddhalinga wrote a number of vachanas. Mathas were also established in different part of the empire. So there was number of religious centers during that time. Religious centers existed during that time. For example, Hampi, Sringeri, Madurai, Shravanabelagola. All these were the religious centers which existed during that time. And both temples and mathas were established, and both temples and mathas can be considered as religious institutions. Temples and mathas were established, and there were different mathas also during this time. That is the matha at Sringeri, Kanchi. All these places mathas were established, and the speciality was that they encouraged education and culture. Education and culture were both encouraged in temples as well as mathas. The important religious festivals which were celebrated in the Vijayanagara Empire, the main festival was the Mahanavami festival, Deepavali festival, Holi. All these were the important festivals. So like this, religion contributed to the culture of Vijayanagara Empire. So mathas were established, a number of mathas were established during that time. The important religious centers were Hampi, Sringeri, Shravanabelagola, Mysore, etc. Temples and mathas were religious institutions, and the notable mathas of the period were Sringeri, Kanchi, Udupi, etc. They encouraged education and culture, and sometimes acted as landlords and bankers. The important festivals at that time were Mahanavami, Deepavali, Holi, etc. All these were the important festivals celebrated during that time. Now let us see the contribution in the field of education and literature. Education and literature. What all were the contributions during the Vijayanagara time in the field of education and literature? Agraharas, mathas and temples were having important role in imparting education. So education was imparted in agraharas, in mathas, and also in temples. All these three institutions played an important role in giving or imparting education. Imparting education. Now, a special system of education existed during that time, that is Dhulakshara. Dhulakshara was a system of education in which a child learned to write in sand. Learned to write in sand. That was a speciality of this system, that is Dhulakshara. Dhul means mud and Akshara means letters, in which a child learned to write in sand. That was a special system of education which existed. And about this Dhulakshara information is given in Mohana Tarangini of Kanakadasa. Mohana Tarangini of Kanakadasa gives information about this system, that is Dhulakshara. So agraharas, matas and temples had a main role in imparting education. Dhulakshara was a system of education in which a child learned to write in sand, and this is referred in Mohana Tarangini of Kanakadasa. Now the primary education during this time, primary education, it was called as Bala Bodhe. The primary education was called as Bala Bodhe. And some important centers of education, there were many centers of education during that time. Some of the important centers of education was Hampi, Sringeri, Kunigal, etc. were the important centers of education during that time. So these were the important contribution of Vijayanagara Empire in the field of education. Now, considering the contribution in the field of literature, the Vijayanagara kings encouraged literary activities. So literary activities were encouraged by the kings. So Vijayanagara kings encouraged the literary activities during that time. Many kings and queens were themselves scholars. Many kings and queens also were themselves scholars. And the languages in which the works were written were Sanskrit, Kannada and Telugu. Sanskrit, Kannada and Telugu and other language literature, all these were encouraged during that time. Now, let us see some important works written during that time. First, let us see some Sanskrit works written. In Sanskrit, the most important work was Madhura Vijayam, written by Ganga Devi. This was the first important work in Sanskrit, Madhura Vijayam. It was written by Ganga Devi. Then the next important work in Sanskrit was Rajakala Nirnaya. Next important work in Sanskrit was Rajakala Nirnaya. Important work in Sanskrit written by Guru Vidyaranya. And next important work was very famous work, that is Usha Parinayam, written by Krishna Devaraya. Krishna Devaraya himself was a poet. We have already studied. His important work was Usha Parinayam by Krishna Devaraya. So all these were some of the important Sanskrit works written during the time of Vijayanagara, that is Madhura Vijayam written by Ganga Devi, Rajakala Nirnaya by Guru Vidyaranya, Usha Parinayam by Krishna Devaraya. So all these were the important works in Sanskrit. Now let us see some important works in Kannada written during that time. So in Kannada, first one was Shunya Sampadane was an important work. It was written by Siddhalingayati. Siddhalingayati. So first important work in Kannada was Shunya Sampadane, written by Siddhalingayati. Next one, Basava Purana. Basava Purana was the next important Kannada work written by Bhima Kavi. Bhima Kavi's work, Basava Purana, another important Kannada work. Then Nalacharita written by Kanakadasa, etc. These were some of the important Kannada works during that time. Shunya Sampadane by Siddhalingayati, Basava Purana, Bhima Kavi, Nalacharita and Mohana Tarangini by Kanakadasa. Now let us see some Telugu works written during this time. All these are included in the cultural contribution. In Telugu works, the first one we can say that Harivamsha, written by Nachana Somanatha. Nachana Somanatha's work, Harivamsha, is one important Telugu work. Next one, Amukta Malyada, written by again Krishna Devaraya. And next important work is Manucharitamu. It was written by Allasani Peddanna. So all these were the important Telugu works, some of the important Telugu works. So Harivamsha by Nachana Somanatha, Amukta Malyada by Krishna Devaraya, Manucharitamu by Allasani Peddanna. So all these were the contribution in the field of literature during the time of Vijayanagara rule. The next contribution we have to see is the contribution in the field of art and architecture. So in the field of art and architecture, Vijayanagara rulers, like they encouraged literature, they also encouraged art and architecture. And one of the most important center of art and architecture can be said as Hampi. Hampi was the center of art and one of the most important center of art and architecture. Now, regarding architecture, they used the Dravidian style of architecture. Mainly, they were using Dravidian style of architecture, and later they added some features to it. So, to this Dravidian style, what they did was they added some unique style, and finally this style was called as the Vijayanagara style of architecture. Vijayanagara style. So basic style was Dravidian style. They added some unique features to that and it became Vijayanagara style of architecture. Now regarding Vijayanagara style, there are many features of Vijayanagara style, but because this is a part of the essay, let us see some of the important features of Vijayanagara style. See, in Vijayanagara style, a temple made consists of Garbhagriha, Sukhanasi, Mahamantapa, and Ardha Mantapa. So, any temple made in the Vijayanagara style will consist of a Garbhagriha, Sukhanasi, Mahamantapa and Ardha Mantapa. That is the first feature. The second thing is mostly granite will be used for construction. In any temple made in Vijayanagara style, granite was used for construction. Then the next feature is pillars and piers which are made will be all multi-angled. The pillars and piers made will be multi-angled. So, Hampi was a main center of their art and architecture. They used Dravidian style, added some unique style and made it a new style, Vijayanagara style. Some of the important features are the temple consists of Garbhagriha, Sukhanasi, Mahamantapa and Ardha Mantapa. The temples will be made of granite. Pillars and piers will be multi-angled. Another feature of Vijayanagara style is the walls of the temples will consist of sculptures the walls of the temples will consist of sculptures, and the sculptures will be of gods, goddesses, etc. Gods, goddesses, etc. Okay, that is the next feature of Vijayanagara style. Then the Sangeeta Mandapa was constructed in the premises of the temple for music, dance, drama, etc. So in the premises of the temple there is a Sangeeta Mandapa, that is Sangeeta Mandapa is constructed for dance, music, drama, etc. So that was why Sangeeta Mandapa was constructed. Now some of the important examples of the monuments of Vijayanagara time, that is Hampi, the temples at Hampi, Virupaksha temple, then Mahanavami Dibba, etc. All these are important monuments constructed during Vijayanagara time and in this style, in Vijayanagara style. The Lotus Mahal is an excellent example of Indo-Islamic style of architecture. So other than Vijayanagara style, the Lotus Mahal was made in Indo-Islamic style. Indo-Islamic style was used for making the Lotus Mahal at Hampi. So that was a speciality. With Vidya Shankara at Sringeri, then Veerabhadra at Lepakshi, all are the important temples. So there are many other important temples made during Vijayanagara time, that is Veerabhadra temple at Lepakshi, then Ekambaranatha temple at Kanchipuram, Ekambaranatha temple which is made at Kanchipuram. All these are the examples of the temples made during Vijayanagara time or in the Vijayanagara style. So the walls of the temples consisted of sculptures of god, goddesses, etc. Sangeeta Mandapa was constructed for the performance of dance, music, drama. Hampi, Virupaksha temple, Vittalaswamy temple, Mahanavami Dibba are the examples of monuments of Vijayanagara. The Lotus Mahal at Hampi is made in the Indo-Islamic style of architecture. The Vidya Shankara at Sringeri, Veerabhadra at Lepakshi, Ekambaranatha at Kanchipuram are some other important temples. So all these were the contributions in the field of art and architecture. Now just let us go through the points which you have seen till now. The question will be describe the cultural contributions of the Vijayanagara Empire. Religion. Vijayanagara Empire protected Hindu religion and culture from invaders. There was religious tolerance among the Hindus, Jains and Muslims. It was the duty of the king to safeguard each and every religion of the empire. The king had built a Jain Basadi. All these show the religious harmony in Vijayanagara Empire. The Vachana movement was popular during this time. Shunya Sampadane was a collection of vachanas produced in this age. Tontada Siddhalinka wrote a number of vachanas. Matas were also established in many parts of the empire. Important religious centers of the time were Hampi, Sringeri, Shravanabelagola, Madurai, etc. Temples and matas were religious institutions of this period. The notable matas of the period were Sringeri, Kanchi, Udupi, etc. They encouraged education and culture and sometimes acted as landlords and bankers. The important religious festivals of the time were Mahanavami, Deepavali, Holi, etc. Now education and literature. Agraharas, matas and temples played an important part in education. Dhulakshara was a system of education in which a child learned to write on sand. This is referred in Mohana Tarangani of Kanakadasa. Primary education was called Balabode. Hampi, Sringeri, Kunigal, etc. were notable centers of education. Vijayanagara kings encouraged literary activities. Many kings and queens were themselves scholars. Sanskrit, Kannada, Telugu and other languages were encouraged. Some of the important literary works of the time are Sanskrit, Madhura Vijayam written by Ganga Devi, Raja Kalanirnaya by Guru Vidyaranya, Usha Parinayam written by Krishna Devaraya. In Kannada, Shunya Sampadane written by Siddhalingayati, Basav Purana by Bhima Kavi, Nalacharita. The next Telugu work, Harivamsha written by Nachana Somnatha, Amukta Malayada written by Krishnadevaraya, Manucharitamu written by Alasani Pedanna, etc. Now regarding art and architecture, Vijayanagara rulers encouraged art and architecture. Hampi was a great center of art and architecture. They used Dravidian style of architecture. Later, some unique features were added and it came to be called as Vijayanagara style. Some of the important features of this style are: the temple consisted of Garbhagriha, Sukanashi, Mahamantapa and Ardhamantapa. Granite was used for construction. Pillars and piers are multi-angled. Walls of the temples contain sculptures of god, goddesses, folklore, etc. Sangeeta Mantapa was constructed in the premises of the temple for music, dance and drama. Hampi, Virupaksha temple, Vittalaswamy temple, Mahanavami Dibba, etc. are some of the examples of monuments of Vijayanagara. Lotus Mahal is an excellent example of Indo-Islamic style of architecture at Hampi. Vidya Shankara at Sringeri, Veerabhadra at Lepakshi, Egambaranatha at Kanchipuram, etc. are some of the other important temples. Now, let us see the contribution of sculpture during the time of Vijayanagara Empire. Sculpture. So, regarding sculpture, the main theme of sculpture was again religion. Religion was the main theme of sculpture made during this time. And some of the important sculptures can be said as Kadalekalu Ganesha, Sasvekalu Ganesha, Lakshmi Narasimha statues, all were the Lakshmi Narasimha statues. Another one was Sasvekalu Ganesha. All these were the important sculptures made during this time. Most of them were at Hampi. Now the copper image of Krishnadevaraya and his two queens. There was a copper image of the king Krishnadevaraya and his two queens. Standing with his two queens, the copper image is another important statue. And there was also another stone statue of Krishnadevaraya found at Chidambaram. Stone statue again of the king Krishnadevaraya. This was found at Chidambaram. All these were the important sculptures done during that time. So the main theme of sculpture was religion. Kadalekalu Ganesha, Sasvekalu Ganesha, Lakshmi Narasimha statue, all were important. Copper image of King Krishnadevaraya with his two queens is another important statue. And the stone statue of Krishnadevaraya at Chidambaram also is important. Now, after contribution in sculpture, regarding the contribution in painting also flourished during this time. It also developed, and mostly the paintings was done on walls. It was done on ceilings of temple, the walls of the temple, ceilings of the temple at Hampi, Lepakshi, etc. And the paintings at Virupaksha temple, the painting on the walls of Virupaksha temple at Hampi, and also Veerabhadra temple. Both these temple paintings are related to Shaiva mythology. Both these temple paintings, Virupaksha temple and Veerabhadra temple paintings, are related to Shaiva mythology. Then there was also many other paintings done in different temples, and Lepakshi is called as the Ajanta of Shaivism. The Ajanta, we know about the importance of Ajanta cave for painting. So Lepakshi is called as Ajanta of Shaivism. So regarding the contribution of Vijayanagara in the field of painting, the paintings were mainly done on the walls, ceilings of the temple, etc. Paintings can be paintings of Virupaksha temple at Hampi and Veerabhadra temple of Lepakshi. Both are related to Shaiva mythology, and Lepakshi is called as the Ajanta of Shaivism. So all these were the contributions in the field of painting. Now finally we have to see the contributions in the field of fine arts. Regarding contributions in the field of fine arts, both dance and music were greatly encouraged during this time. Dance and music were encouraged by the kings of Vijayanagara time, and in the most important personalities who belonged to this period was Vadiraja, Purandaradasa, Kanakadasa, all of them belong to this period, and most of them composed devotional songs, and these devotional songs were called as kirtanas. The devotional songs composed were called as kirtanas, and among them Purandaradasa was a most important personality. He is called as the father of Carnatic music. So Purandaradasa was very important. He is called as the father of Carnatic music, and there was also a number of dancing halls during the Vijayanagara time, and among the important dancers, Bandam Lakshmi Narayana was a dance master in the court of Krishnadevaraya. So Bandam Lakshmi Narayana was a very famous dance master in the court of Krishnadevaraya. So all these were the contributions in the field of fine arts. Dance and music were encouraged. Vadiraja, Purandaradasa and Kanakadasa belonged to this period. They composed devotional songs, and these devotional songs were called as kirtanas. Purandaradasa was called as the father of Carnatic music. There were a good number of dancing halls at Vijayanagara. Bandam Lakshmi Narayana was a dance master in the court of Krishnadevaraya. So all these were the contribution in the field of fine arts. Now just let us go through the points quickly. Sculpture, religion was the main theme of sculpture. Kadle Kalo Ganesha, Sasve Kalo Ganesha and Lakshmi Narasimha statues at Hampi are important. The copper image of Krishnadevaraya and his two queens is another important statue. A stone statue of Krishnadevaraya is found at Chidambaram. Painting also flourished with other arts in Vijayanagara. Paintings can be seen on the walls and ceilings of temples at Hampi, Lepakshi, etc. The paintings of Virupaksha temple at Hampi and Veerabhadra temple at Lepakshi are related to Shaiva mythology. Marriage of Pampampa with Virupaksha, Madana Vijaya and Tripura Samhara are great paintings. Lepakshi is called the Ajanta of Shaivism. Regarding fine arts, dance and music were encouraged. Vadiraja, Purandaradasa and Kanakadasa belong to this period. They composed devotional songs called kirtanas. Purandaradasa is called the father of Carnatic music. There were a good number of dancing halls at Vijayanagara, and Bandam Lakshmi Narayana was a dance master in the court of Krishnadevaraya. So all these were the contributions of Vijayanagara Empire and the cultural contributions of Vijayanagara Empire. So with these two essays we finished the first model paper for reduced syllabus. So I hope you have understood all these questions very clearly. This model paper is very important. Please make all the questions given in the model paper very thorough. And if you have any doubts, you can ask in the comment section. The coming videos, I will start the next model paper which is given by the university, the second model paper for reduced syllabus. Like this model paper only, part by part I will be uploading. Repeated questions I will be giving a link for reference, and your doubts can be asked in the comment section. And also do like, share and subscribe to my channel. Your likes and comments will be of a great encouragement for me to make more and more videos. So I hope to see you soon in the next video. Thank you for watching.